Too smart, Bobby. You got murdered.
This video is for entertainment and commentary purposes. No disrespect is intended toward the victims or their families. These cases involve real people and real tragedies.
An enormous man. With all due respect to him, he couldn't get out that window. There'd be a hole in the side of the mobile home if Mike tried to get out the window, and he'd tell you the same thing.
Terry Jo Howard's dog had a nicotine addiction.
Victor Gunnarsson had, in fact, consumed potatoes.
He knows garbage bags.
If you didn't think it took some cojones to go down to the police station, you're wrong.
While I sat there professionally deadpan, inside I would scream, "Oh, I know why you know what a man likes. You were one." And it was shocking that she was quite a character.
And the background check revealed Keon was a player. One of the flight attendants remembered him distinctly because of the poor quality of his toupee. A love quadrangle with enough intrigue to go around.
Where is he now?
If you think I'm gonna help you find him, you're crazy. He'll kill me. When I left, he was pissed, and I'm glad he's gone.
One of the finest grasses I've ever seen.
Now, if you want about 6 boxes and put on 50 nicotine patches, then I'll hear you out on your bona fide effort to kill yourself. 4? I know people studying for exams that do that just to stay up.
They both hated each other. They both wanted me.
Big fat ego.
Was it possible, because of inbreeding, isolation, or just plain feline promiscuity?
Get in there. Please get in. I'm in, right? You don't have to.
I mean, he looked identical. If he could have crawled into that burrito, he probably would have.
He wanted to pick on Alvin. I'd like to see him come pick on me. And you can print that one. That's how badly I feel about what he did to that man. He's a bully and a punk.
You won't have to hurt for long, because your ass is mine.
He was overacting.
So? Then I saw the black shoes. The goddamn black shoes!
I need somebody to come down to Lakesland Drive immediately. I've got a dead person. Is the person conscious? She's dead.
I don't have to listen to this.
She's a compulsive liar. I mean, she lies so much that she has to make up lies to cover her other lies, and she's probably exhausted.
Don't threaten me.
He made it a point to say good morning to the doorman at the hotel, say who he was and what room he was in, and that he was going to go out and jog. I mean, like, it was from the book of Who Cares? The doorman didn't care. Why would you do that?
I think he knew exactly what he was doing throughout this whole case. It was just unfortunate for him that he was stupid.
So at the time of his death, he had every reason to die.
He allegedly stopped an elderly man in a rental car and robbed him at gunpoint, but he picked on the wrong man. And how common is it for a bomber to blow himself up when handling one of his own bombs?
Not common enough.
I'm glad they got her, but I don't want to sound like I'm out for vengeance. Although if they wanted to kill her, I'd volunteer.
Bruce was hunting, but he wasn't hunting deer.
He was hunting for his wife.
Do you know your wife's whereabouts?
No.
Did you have anyone kill your wife?
No.
There were no physical evidence. None. There was zippo, zero, nil, nada, nothing.
He had his, should I call her, his whore? Because that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's what she is.
If I had one line description of Denise Davidson, would be she's a cold-hearted bitch.
He was known as Crazy Alvin by the townspeople.
Like I say, he was a hedonistic, self-absorbed little brat.
I kicked his lawyer's ass. And he's supposed to be the best lawyer in southern Saskatchewan, best defense lawyer. Well, I showed him who was boss.
The police were skeptical.
I noticed that the other detectives were walking around, and in fact, one of them was kind of doing this. And I got upset. I got very aggravated with that.
You know, you don't have to go to Kmart to figure out he's crazy.
He looked me straight in the eye and said, Jim, aren't you tired of being the grieving father?
And he looked at me and he said, I thought I was supposed to be. And I said, no, you were supposed to be goddamn mad. Let's go after that bitch.
You're just fishing, mind your own business, and you reel in somebody's head.
There was evidence of a recent fire. Smith said a cigarette butt accidentally ignited the upholstery.
It was almost like the cat knew that we were taking him in.
Roger Savoy told me he went down to the house and read out the rights, the cat's rights to the parents. And I said to Roger, what did the cat say? And he said, meow.
Bruce joins them but doesn't have dinner. He picks off of their plates.
The reason for the divorce this time was that Fred was having an affair with the pretty 24-year-old bartender, Vicki McAllister. T.S. Eliot penned these lines in his old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. You now have learned enough to see that cats are much like you and me. These defense attorneys also decided to have the forensic evidence re-examined.
It's not proof, but it sure stinks.
You know, it just really flew all over me. Why would somebody mention something like that?
You're not going to touch me, basically is what he said.
Just basically, you know, you're not getting anything out of my mouth. Except maybe the swear words.
This is how a forensic toxicologist and a middle-aged woman in a cheerleader's outfit cracked the only known case of its kind in the history of forensic science.
He wasn't running some kind of fat farm or something.
It's just fine with me that he killed himself. It's fine with me.
I mean, we're all adults here. We can read the writing on the wall. That's what happened, Maureen. Now let's just stand tall. Let's just tell it how it happened. Let's don't come across like the cold-blooded bitch that you look like you are now. I know you're not.
I was very young, attractive, and I was used to turning heads.
He is kind of a nerdy, howdy-doody looking guy, the person you would forget right away after you met him.
Linnell Fullman advised the officers not to touch the hoe until the dog could get a sniff.
She'd probably still be killing. She would be burning houses, and she would be collecting insurance with your premiums.
It was the strangest thing I'd ever seen. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a fun trial.
That would probably get him a conference with God before he would be sent to hell.
He was just very strange, very strange. You kind of wonder what went wrong with him that made him behave like that.
Perpetrated by a police officer hired to protect and serve, not abuse and suppress.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that you have a problem with a firebug on the loose.
As far as I'm concerned, he's as worthless as there is, but he'll probably outlive me. He's sucking my air, and I'm paying for his room and board up there as a taxpayer.
What's Joe doing? What's Joe doing?
Ron loved two things in this world, guns and women. And in one night, those two very tragically came together and caused his death.
Foreman used 6 different bags, and each time he increased the pressure on the subject's face.
They watched a lot of Law & Order and CSI, and they got the idea to do this from those shows. And I asked her, do y'all not watch the end of the shows? Because usually the criminals get caught. And she just laughed.
A computer is about as secure as a wet paper bag.
They got into a disagreement during which Gary Ackley called her, at a minimum, a bitch, and depending on whose version you believe, a
By today's standards, the animation looks crude, but at the time, it was state of the art.
You can't really see any detail because the weave is interfering with that.
I was trying to have my family go to the funeral and clip his fingernails and cut his hair while he was in the box. Figure out a way to get some DNA from him.
I guess I just wasn't doing it fast enough. He picked up a thing of shingles and threw them at me, and I went right over the end of the roof, flat on my back.
Darrell Kuehl had offered him money and a car to kill the prison transport officers who were taking Darrell back. This person was getting out of jail before Darrell was going to be transported.
$5,000 for me and $5,000 for Harvey and $5,000 for Howard. We thought we were going pretty cheap there.
But before he was sentenced, McEnany ran towards the window and tried to jump out. An alert investigator saw something no one else had seen.
We were dealing with somebody who's had absolutely zero regard for another human being. He was just mean and sorry, it was my first thought.
And 6 kids, 7 kids, however many he had. That's a lot of groceries.
He called me up the day before. Said, we're gonna come over and arrest you. I said, come on. Are you guys serious? And yeah, they come over to arrest me, all right. 10 o'clock in the morning, would you? Sure, come pick me up for a murder charge. Yeah. Then I had to sit on the porch because they're 15 minutes late.
Vincent Sanchez had an argument with a former girlfriend, and he was angry because she hadn't invited him to her family picnic.
I was in bed. That's impossible.
I don't normally do this, but I'm going to show you something. This is your print in blood that we recovered inside that house. These are the patterns on your shoes that you have on your feet right now.
When I saw the impression, I could not believe that I was seeing that same footwear pattern. We were just baffled that, again, Tavares was stupid enough to have those shoes on his feet right now.
An animal expert finally got the dog to talk, just not in the usual way.
GIMP is an unfortunate acronym. He may not know what blood spatter is, but he knew that these little spots on the front of his pants were probably not good.
I don't know who said the wheels of justice turn slowly, but they are flat. And I'm fixing to jack them up, change the tires, and throw a new spare in the trunk.
You know, if he couldn't win her affections with his pudgy good looks and oily charm, he would ply her with money and gifts and buy it that way. But it didn't work.
Some people thought she was not very nice, and some people thought she was the greatest thing since cupcakes.
Their very words to us was, "We know who you're talking about. His name is Drew Plant, and he is a strange bird."
In any case, Edwards had to realize that no matter which girlfriend he chose, he'd be supporting 2 children on his cook salary.
He's tried to cover it up and then he just gave up. Like, come on, man. If you killed somebody, do whatever you got to do to make sure that nobody can see this. And he just didn't do that, and that made our job really easy.
Tavares is so stupid that he wore his same shoe into his interview at the police station with a detective.
That's not even a good Lifetime television movie. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
But she did introduce him nevertheless.
Rebecca and introduced this man that she was with as, you know, this is my 10-inch cowboy, I think is how she referred to him out at the bar.
This guy isn't, pardon my French, but an evil bastard, and I'm relieved he's going to go to prison for the rest of his life.
Looks like Rambo, acts like Rambo, and dresses like Rambo. It may be Rambo. I was told that, I almost jumped out of my boots.
Basically what we were doing was we were strangling each other.
Not for fun.
There were hamburger buns thrown all over the bathroom floor.
Hello, darling. You are a troublemaker. You are ugly and stupid, bitch. I hate you.
They put handcuffs on
while he was in our intensive care unit. That does shock us, to say the least.
Right. And this was a dishonest case. I mean, I want to split their face.
He was sleeping out on the couch in the living room at that time. He'd been banished from the bedroom.
I yelled. I sat in my office and went, "Ee-haw!" Couldn't believe it.
Hi, sex bomb. Having a good day?
I don't believe she was going to do something that stupid. She had more common sense. She was more intelligent than that. No way, Jose.
We call it the full tilt boogie. When your mind goes in the full tilt boogie, you forget everything. Your brains go out the window and you start doing stupid stuff.
It caused a lot of folks to scratch a lot of heads here.
They shouldn't even have wasted a trial on him. They should have took him out and let the family shoot them in the back of the head. That's the way I feel about it, but that's Alaska justice. You know, we do things a little different up here. Used to, anyway.
But in this case, it is the forensic files.
I beat the with their own sticks. See, 5th grade education goes a long way when you're playing with a bunch of corrupt. They can't even frame anybody right. That's how stupid them college geniuses are.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on these other platforms.